I have a book in my hand, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I have studied this book. This is one of the best book I ever studied. It has many things for us. So I'm sharing this video for all those who want to study this book and who want to know about its content. So today I will share 2 to 3 pages and I will read this in front of you. Okay, so let's start this book. This I bought this book on 21st of the February 2024, and that day I was ill as well, and I went to uh, a doctor. So the first is the introduction, chapter number 1. The rich don't work for money. Chapter 2. Why financial literacy. Remind your own business. In chapter 4 is the history of taxes and the power of corporations. So there are many things good. If you want to listen and this book with me, please stay with me. So let's start. Rich dad, poor dad. Having two dads offer me the choice of contrasting points of view, one of a rich man and one of a poor man. I had two fathers, a rich one and a poor one. One was highly educated and intelligent. He had a PhD and completed 4 years of undergraduate work in less than 2 years. He then went on to Stanford University, the University of Chicago, and Northwestern University to do his advanced studies, all on full financial scholarship. The other father never finished the 8th grade. Both men were successful in their career, working hard all their lives, both earn substantial incomes. Yet one always struggled financially, the other would become one of the richest men in Hawaii. One died leaving tens of millions of dollars to his family, charities, and his church. The other left bill to be paid. So, guys, what do you think? Who will be the rich one? The one who studied and had a PhD, or the one that never completed the his 8th class? So let's see who may be the rich one. Both men were strong, charismatic, and influential. Both men offered me advice, but they did not advise the same thing. Both men believed strongly in education, but did not recommend this course of study. So let's see what's on the next page. Page 2. Return of the page. If I had only one date, I would have had to accept or reject his advice. Having two dads offer me the choice of contrasting points of view, one of a rich man and one of a poor man. Instead of the simply accepting or rejecting one or the other, I found myself thinking more, comparing, and then choosing for myself. The problem was that the rich man was not rich yet, and the poor man was not yet poor. Both were just starting out in their careers, and both were struggling with money and families. But they had very different point of view about money. For example, one dad would say, "The love of money is the root of all evils." The other said, "The lack of money is the root of all evils." So, guys, this is the contrasting picture you would see in this book and the upcoming lives. As a young boy, having two strong fathers, both influencing me, was difficult. I wanted to be a good son and listen, but the two fathers did not say the same things. The contrast in their point of view, particularly about the money, was so extreme that I grew curious and intrigued. I began to start thinking for a long period of time about what each was saying. Much of my private time was spent reflecting, asking myself questions such as, why does he say that? And then asking the same question of the other day's statement. I would have been much easier to simply say, yeah, he's right. I agree with that. Or to simply reject the point of view by saying, the old man doesn't know what he's talking about. Instead, having two dads whom I love forced me to think and ultimately choose a way of thinking for myself. Is a process. Choosing for myself turned out to be much more valuable in the long run than simply accepting or rejecting the single point of view. Okay, guys, so let's move to the page number 3. On the other, okay, one of the reasons the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the middle class struggle in depth is that the subject of money is taught at home, not in school. Most of us learn about money from our parents. So, what can poor parents tell their child about money? They simply say, stay in school and study hard. Child may graduate with excellent grade, but with a poor. Okay, sadly, money is not school. School focused on the scholastic and professional skills, but not on financial. This explains how smart bankers, doctor, and accountant who earn excellent grade may struggle financially all of their lives. Guys, this is very important, okay? And a very interesting book. Please listen and stay with me. Our staggering national debt is due to the large part of highly educated politicians and government officials making financial decisions with little or no training in the subject of money. Today, I often wonder what will soon happen when we have millions of the people who need financial and medical assistance. They will be dependent upon their families or the government for the financial support. What will happen when the Medicare and the run out of money? How will a nation survive if teaching children about the money continues to be left to the parent? Most of whom will be or already are poor. Because I had two influential fathers, I learned from both of them. I had to think about each day's advice, and in doing so, I gained valuable insight into the power and effect one of the thoughts on one's life. For example, one dad had a habit of saying, I can afford it. I can't afford it. The other dad forbade those words to be used. He insisted. I asked, how can I afford it? So, look, guys, what was the two point of view? One is saying, I can't afford it. The other say, how can I afford it? So, okay, uh, one is a statement, and the other is a question. One lets you off the hooks, and the other forces you to think. My my soon to be rich dad would explain that by automatically saying the word I can't afford it. Your brain stopped working. By asking the question, how can I afford it? Your brain is put to the word. He did not mean that you should buy everything you want. He was fanatical about exercising your mind, the most powerful computer in the world. He would say, My brain gets stronger every day because I exercise it. The stronger it gets, the more money I can make. He believed that automatically saying I can't afford it was a sign of the mental illness. Although Dad worked hard, I noticed that one Dad had a habit of putting his brain to sleep when it came to finances, and the other had a habit of exercising his brain. The long term result was that one dad grew stronger financially and the other grew weaker. It's not much different from a person who goes to the gym to exercise on a regular basis versus someone who sits on the couch watching television. Proper physical exercise increase your chance for health, and proper mental exercise increase your chance for wealth. Guys, notice this. Proper physical exercise increase your chance for health, and proper mental exercise increase your chance for wealth. My two dads had opposing attitude that affected the way they thought. One dad thought that the rich should pay more in taxes to take care of those less fortunate. The other said, taxes punish those who produce and reward those who do not produce. One did recommend, study hard so you can find a good company to work for. The other recommend, study hard so you can find a good company to buy. Wow, that's great. Study hard. Yeah, the educated ones say, study hard so you can find a good company to work for. The other recommend study hard so you can find a good company to buy. Wow, that's great. So guys, let's move to the page number 5. And after finishing this page, I will say goodbye. Okay, wait a minute. One, they said, the reason I'm not rich is because I have you cats. The other said, the reason I must be rich is because I have you cats. Good. One encouraged talking about money and business at the dinner table, while the other forbade the subject of money to be discussed over a meal. Good. One say, when it comes to money, play it safe, don't take risks. The other say, learn to manage risk. One believe our home is our largest investment and our greatest assets. The other believe my house is a liability. Also, note this point, liability. And if your house is your largest investment, you are in trouble. Both dad paid their bills in time, yet one paid his bill fast while the other paid bill lost. Good. One day to believe in a company or a government taking care of you and your need. He was always concerned about fair raises, retirement plan, medical benefits, sick leave, vacation day, and other perks. He was impressed with two of his uncles who joined the military and earned a retirement and entitlement package for the life after 20 years of the active service. He loved the idea of medical benefits and PX privilege the military provided its retirees. He also loved the tenure system available throughout the university. The idea of the job protection for the life and job benefits seemed more important at time than the job. He would often say, I have worked hard for the government and I am entitled to these benefits. The other believed in total financial self reliance. He spoke out against the entitlement military and how it created weak and financially needed people. He was empathetic about being financially competent. So please subscribe. I shall read out all these pages one by one and keep coming in my live. You can watch it later as well. So, guys, uh, this was a very important book and very helping one. I studied it a year ago. Now, I thought to myself that why shouldn't I share this with my listeners so that they could get benefit from it? And I'm sharing this from an area like this. And I'm inspired by these words. So, you guys who live in the cities uh, will get most benefit from it. It has wisdom. And this is a book you can buy from the stores. And I had it in my hand. Robert T. Kioski, you can search this as well. So if you want to listen with me, keep stay tuned and subscribe to my channel so that I study this along you guys. Please say hi in the comment section, and if you want to listen this, suggest me uh, how in how can I improve my reading. Please, let's go ahead. One dad struggled to save a few dollars. The other created investment. One dad taught me now to write an impressive resume so I could find a good job. The other taught me how to write strong business and financial plan so I could create job. Welcome by. Being the product of two strong dads allowed me the luxury of observing the apex different through have one's life. I noticed that the people really do shape their lives through their thoughts. For example, my poor dad always said, I will never be rich. And that prophecy became reality. My rich dad, on the other hand, always referred to himself as rich. He would say things like, I'm a rich man, I'm a rich man, and rich people don't do this. Even when he was flat broke after a major financial setbacks, he continued to refer himself as a rich man. He would cover himself by saying, there is a difference between being poor and being broke. Broke is temporary, poor is eternal. My poor dad would say, I'm not interested in money, or money doesn't matter. My rich dad always say, money is power. The power of our thoughts may never be measured or appreciated, but it became obvious to me as a young but that it was important to be aware of my thoughts and how I express myself. I noticed that my poor dad was poor not because of the amount of money he earned, which was significant, but because of his thoughts and action. As a young boy having two fathers, I become actually aware of being careful about which thought I choose to adopt as my own. Should I listen to my rich dad or to my poor dad? Although both men had tremendous respect for education and learning, they disagreed about what they thought was important to learn. One wanted me to study hard, earn a degree, and get a good job to earn. He wanted me to study to become a professional, an attorney, or an accountant, and go to the business school for my MBA. The other encouraged me to study to be rich, to understand how money works, and to learn how to have it work for me. I don't work for money, were words he would repeat over and over. Money works for me. Listen, guys, money works for me. At the age of 9, I decided to listen and learn from my rich dad about money. And doing so, I choose not to listen to my poor dad, even though he was the one with all the college degree. There is a difference between being poor and being broke. Broke is temporary, poor is eternal. So let's move to the 8th page. Now let's just start the story. A lesson from the Frost. Robert Frost, you know, Robert Frost, a poet. Robert Frost is my favorite poet. Although I love many of his poems, my favorite is The Road Not Taken. I use its listen almost daily. Okay, what is in this poem? Let's read it. The road not taken. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood. And sorry I could not travel both. And be one travel long I stood. And looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other is just as fair, in having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wares, though as for that, passing there had won them really about the same. And both the morning equally lay, at leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the past for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way. I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. In that he made all the difference. So, guys, and that's has made all the difference. Over the year, I have been reflected upon Robert Frost's poem, choosing not to listen to my highly educated dad advice and attitude about money was painful decision, but it was a decision that shaped the rest of my life. Once I made up my mind about whom to listen to, my education about money began. My rich dad taught me over a period of 30 years until I was 39. Oh. He stopped once he realized that I knew and fully understood what he had been trying to drum into my often thick skull. Money is one form of power, but what is more powerful is financial education. Money comes and go, but if you have the education about how the money works, you gain power over it and can begin building wealth. The reason positive thinking alone doesn't work is because most people went to school and never learned how money works, so they spend their lives working for money. Because I was only 9 years old when I started the lesson, my rich dad taught me were simple, and when it was all said and done, there were only six main lessons, repeated over 30 years. The book is about those six lessons, put as simply as possible, just as simply as my rich dad put for these lessons to me. The lessons are mean not to be answered, but guide post that will assist you and your children to grow wealthier, no matter what happened in the world of increasing change and uncertainty. Okay, please hit the like button, please. There is the start of the book, and we will start it. Lesson 1: The rich don't work for money. Thank you, guys. Okay, so welcome again. I want to bring the people from the other sites like Facebook. So I was sharing a link there. So let's start at chapter number 1. Okay, the rich don't work for money. The poor and the middle class work for money, the rich have money work for them. Dear students and viewers, this is the key statement. Listen it carefully. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. So let's start. Dad, can you tell me how to get rich? My dad put down everything. Evening paper. Why do you want to get rich, son? Because today Jimmy's mom drove off in their new Cadillac and they were going to their beach house for the weekend. He took three of his friends, but Mike and I weren't invited. They told us we weren't invited because we were poor kids. They did, my dad asked incred- incredulously. Yeah, they did, I replied in a hot tone. Yeah, they did, I replied in a hot tone. My dad silently shook his head, pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose, and went back to reading the paper. I stood waiting for an answer. The year was 1956. I was 9 years old. By some twist of fate, I attended the same public school where the rich people send their kid. We were primarily a oh, wow, that's a good statement. A sugar plantation town. Wa alaikum salam. The manager of the plantation and the other affluent people, such as doctor, business owners, and bankers, send their children to this through grade 6. Their children were generally sent up to private school because my family lived on the side of the street I went to this school. Because my family lived on the side of the street I went to this school, had I lived on the other side of the street, I would have gone to a different school with kids from the families more like mine. Up to grade 6, these kids I found go on the public intermediate and high school. There was no private school for them or for me. My dad finally put down the paper. I could tell he was thinking. Well, son, he began slowly. If you want to be rich, you have to learn to make money. How do I make money? I asked. Well, use your head, son, I said, smiling. Even then, I knew that really mean. That's all I'm going to tell you. I don't know the answer, so don't embarrass me. Okay, from here they'll start an interesting, uh, story. A partnership is formed. The next morning, I told my best friend, Mike, what my dad had said. Best as I could tell, Mike and I were the only poor kid in the school. Mike was also in the school by a twist of fate. Someone had drawn a jog in the line for the school district, and we wound up in the school with the rich kids. We weren't really poor, but we felt as if we were because all the other boys had new baseball gloves, new bicycles, new everything. Mom and dad provide us with the basic like food, shelter, and clothes. But that was about it. My dad used to say, if you want something, work for it. We wanted things, but there was not much work available for a 9 year old boy. So, what do we do to make money? Mike asked. I don't know, I said. But do you want to be my partner? He agreed. And so on that Saturday morning, Mike became my first business partner. We spent all morning coming up with ideas on how to make money. Occasionally, we talk about the cool guys at the Jimmy's beach house having fun. It had a little, but heart was good because it inspired us to keep thinking of way to make money. Finally, that afternoon, a bolt of lightning struck. It was an idea Mike got from a science book he had read. Excitedly, we shook hands, and the partnership now had a business. For the next several weeks, Mike and I ran out a neighborhood knocking on the door and asking our neighbors if they would sell their toothpaste tubes for us. With puzzled looks, most adults consented with a smile. Some asked us what we were doing, to which we replied, "We can't tell you. It's a business secret." My mom grew distressed as the week wore on. We had selected a site next to her washing machine as the place where we would stockpile our raw material in a brown cardboard box that at one time held ketchup bottles. Our little piles of used toothpaste tubes began to grow. It is a very interesting story. At the end, you will, you know, finally, my mom's put down the sight of her neighbor, Missy, crumpled, used toothpaste tubes had gotten to her. "What are your boys doing?" she asked. And I don't want to hear again that is business secret. Do something with his mess, or I'm going to throw it out. Mike and I pleaded and begged, explaining that we would soon have enough and then we would begin production. We informed her that we were waiting on a couple of neighbors to finish their toothpaste so we could have their tubes. Moms granted us a 1 week extension. Wow. The date to begin production was moved off and the pressure was on. My past partnership was already being threatened with you know, a eviction notice by my mom. It had become Mike's job to tell the neighbors to quickly use up their toothpaste, saying their dentist wanted them to brush more often anyway. I began to put together the production line. One day, my dad drove off with a friend to see two 9 years old boys in the driveway with a production line operating at full speed. There was a fine white powder everywhere, and a long table where the small milk cartons from the school and our family hibachi grill was glowing with the red hot coals at maximum heat. So this is a story. Dad walked off cautionally, having to park the car at the base of the driveway since the production line blocked the car path. As he and his friend got closer, they saw a steel pot sitting on the top of the coals in which the toothpaste tube were being melted down. On those days, on those days, toothpaste did not come in plastic tube. The tubes were made of lead. So once the paint was burned off, the tubes were dropped in a small steel pot. They melted until they became liquid, and with my mom's pot holder, we poured the lead through a small hole in the top of a milk carton. The milk carton were filled with plaster of Paris. White powder was everywhere in my haste. I had knocked the bag over, and the entire area looked like I had been hit by the snowstorm. The milk carton were the outer container for the plaster of Paris mold. My dad and his friend watched as we carefully poured the molten lead through a small hole and the top of a plaster of Paris cube. Careful, my dad said. I nodded without looking up. Finally, once the pouring was through, I put the steel pot down and smiled at my dad. "What are you boys doing?" he asked with a caution smile. "We are doing what you told me to do. We are going to be rich," I said. "Yo," said Mike, grinning and nodding his head. "We are partner." So this is what the kid think, okay? "And what in those plaster mold?" my dad asked. "Watch," I said. "This should be a good batch." With a small hammer, I tapped at the steel that divided the cube into half. Cautiously, I pulled up the top half of the plaster mold and lead nickel pelt out. "Oh no," my dad exclaimed. "You are casting nickel lead, you know?" "That's right," Mike said. "We are doing as you told us to do. We are making money." My dad's friend turned and burst into laughter. My dad smiled and shook his head. Along with a fire and a box of spent toothpaste tube in front of him stood two little boys covered with white dust, smiling from ear to ear. He asked us to put everything down and sit with him on the front step of our house. With a smile, he gently explained what the word counterfeiting means. "Our dream were dashed. You mean this is illegal?" asked Mike in queering voice. "Let them go," my dad friend said. "They might be developing a natural talent." My dad glared at him. "Yes, it is illegal," my dad said gently. "But you boys have shown great creativity and original thought. Keep going. I'm really proud of you." Disappointed Mike and I sat in a silence for about 20 minutes before we began cleaning up our mess. The business was over on the opening day. Sweeping the powder off, I looked at Mike and said, "I guess Jamie and his friend are right. We are poor." My father was just leaving as I said that. "Boys," he said, "you are only poor if you give up. The most important thing is that you did something. Most people only talk and dream about getting rich. You have done something. I'm very proud of two of you. I will say it again. Keep doing. Don't quit." Mike and I stood there in silence. There were nice words, but we still did not know what to do. "So how come you are rich now, Dad?" I asked. "Because I choose to be a school teacher. School teacher really don't think about being rich. We just like to teach. I wish I could help you, but I really don't know how to make money." Mike and I turn and continue our cleanup. "I know," said my dad. "If you boys want to learn how to be rich, don't ask me. Talk to your dad, Mike." "Okay, Mike, dad," asked Mike with a scratched up face. "Yeah, you are there," repeated my dad with a smile. "Your dad and I have the same bankers." And he reviewed about your father. "He's told me several times that your father is brilliant when it comes to making money." My dad, Mike asked again in disbelief. "Then how come we don't have a nice car and a nice house like the rich kids at school?" "A nice car and nice house don't necessarily mean you are rich or you know how to make money," my dad replied. "Jimmy, dad works for a sugar plantation. He's not much different from me. He works for a company and I work for the government. The company buys the car for him. The sugar company is a financial trouble and Jimmy's dad may soon have nothing. Your dad is different, Mike. He seemed to be building an empire, and I suspect years he will be a very rich man. With that, Mike and I got excited again. With new vigor, we began cleaning up the mess caused by our now defunct first business. And we were cleaning, we made plans for how and when to talk to Mike Zaid. The problem was that Mike did work long hours and often did not come home until late. His father owned warehouses, a construction company, a chain of stores, and a three restaurant. It was the restaurants that kept him out late. Okay, Mike caught the bus home after he had finished cleaning up. He was going to talk to his dad when he got home that night and ask him if we would teach us how to become rich. Mike promised to call as soon as he had talked to his dad, even if it was late. The phone rang at 8:30. Okay, I said next Saturday. I put the phone down. Mike said he'd agreed to meet with us. On Saturday, I caught the 7:30 a.m. bus to the poor side of town. From here, the story began in its full mood. So, guys, see you soon with the next live from the lesson begin. Page number 18. Bye. Stay blessed.